All right, hello children, it's Pastor Matthew here for our Children's Praise video. As we began most recently, we're working through the Children's Catechism, the Westminster Catechism. There's 107 questions we got to go through. So we're working through all of them today. We are on question number 2. Let me do question number 2 for you here. You'll see it appear at the bottom of the screen. Question number 2 in the Westminster Shorter Catechism is, and here's your question. What rule hath God given to direct us how we may glorify and enjoy him? So that's our question today. What rule has God given us, you and me and everybody, to know how we can glorify and enjoy him? Now, if any part of that question sounds familiar, you're going to remember the first question of the Catechism, which is how can we glorify and enjoy God? And we learned then that glorifying and enjoying God happens. That's the purpose of our life, is to glorify and enjoy God. And here we're learning how it happens. The way we're going to glorify and enjoy God is this. Here's the answer. The Word of God, which is contained in the scriptures of the Old and New Testament, is the only rule to direct us how we may glorify and enjoy him. So, to repeat, the first question here is, what rule has God given to direct us how we may glorify and enjoy him? The answer is, the Word of God is that rule. The Word of God is that contained in the Old and New Testament is the only rule to direct us how we may glorify and enjoy him. If you remember from when we did our question number 1, to glorify and to enjoy is like holding a flashlight and eating candy. If you eat that chocolate candy we had before, if you had that chocolate candy and you ate it, that would just be enjoyable. It tastes good to eat chocolate. It's not really nutritious. It's not like eating broccoli or carrots, but you just eat chocolate candy because it just tastes good. You enjoy it. And to glorify, if you remember, we held up my cell phone. And my cell phone has a camera on it. And that camera also has a light which shoots light out if you wanted to look at something. And that's what glorify means. If we were in a dark room and I wanted to read this paper, I had to hold it up in front of the light so that it would glorify the paper, that it would show me what's on the paper. And see, that's what your life's supposed to do. Your life is supposed to glorify God. People are supposed to look at your life, kind of like reading the pages of your life like this, and they are supposed to see God or something about God in your life. Now, how do we do that? That's our question today. What rule has God given so that we might know how we can glorify and enjoy him? The rule, we're told, is the Bible. So this is a very large yardstick or big ruler, and this is the Bible. These two things are very similar if you look at them together. The rule is this. This is the Bible, and this is a ruler we use to measure things. So if I want to know how long something is, if I want to know that something is 8 inches long, there's no way to really do that with your eyes because you never really can know. I can guess if I look at someone's shoes maybe and I say, hey, I think their shoes are maybe around 12 inches long. But you don't really know until you come here and you put that next to someone's shoe. Or if I say, hey, this Bible is exactly 8 3/4 of an inch. Wow, right? But I wouldn't really know that just by looking at it. I might guess it's around 8 inches, right? The reason we have rulers is so that we can be very exact on knowing how long something is, being able to measure it by a certain standard, a standard. So I want you to try to learn that word, standard. That's what this is. This is something we measure other things by, right? So we're told, how are you supposed to know if you glorify and enjoy God? Well, the only way you're going to know that is by the Bible. This is the standard. This is the ruler, the measuring rod, in which you're able to evaluate your life or judge your life to know, is there light in my life that shows the glory of God everywhere? And also, am I enjoying God, the one true living God? Do I know him? Well, the only way you know that is by the Word of God, the standard. this is what the confession says, or the catechism rather, says, is the Word of God, which contains in the Old and New Testament, is the only rule to direct us how we may glorify and enjoy Him. So I want to show you how it says here in the Old and New Testament is the only rule. So this Bible is like a big, big yardstick or ruler. And inside this Bible, there are little, maybe kind of like this, like little inches, little markers. You see how there's lots of parts to this one big yardstick or ruler? Well, inside this Bible, there's lots of parts. There's lots of books. And the question answers by saying it's the rule of God in the Scriptures, both in the Old and New Testament. So I want you to look at this image so you can learn what that means. Look at all these little marks on this piece of paper. They represent all the books inside the Bible. So all of these little marks are kind of like little dashes on a yardstick. They're other little pieces of information that we're told we can measure our lives by. So you'll see over here that we have right here, it says Old Testament. And inside the Old Testament is the law, all these books called Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. These are the first 5 books of the Bible. And then you have the historical books. And then you have the poetry books. And then you have a really big section called the prophets. And all of this is called the Old Testament. All these little books inside of the Bible. And then you have the New Testament, which has the Gospels and the book of Acts and all the letters. And then the very last book of the Bible is Revelation. See if you can remember that. What's the first book of the Bible? Genesis. What's the last book of the Bible? Revelation. And I want you to understand this. There's 2 sections to the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament. See if you can answer that question when your teacher asks you, which parts of the Bible are there? There's an Old Testament and a New Testament. And all of these are like little dashes on a ruler to help us measure our lives. That's why we say that the Bible is our rule. It's our standard. So, you have a lot to learn today. I want you to hear this last Bible verse so that you can understand what we mean. This is what Jesus said about the Scriptures. Mark 24:27, it says, "And beginning with Moses and the prophets, Jesus interpreted to them all the Scriptures, all the things concerning himself. He said to them, 'These are my words that I spoke to you while I am still with you, that everything written about me in the law of Moses and the prophets and the Psalms must be fulfilled.'" So Jesus said, everything in the Bible is written about me in the law of Moses and in all the prophets and in all the Psalms, which included also all the poetry books. So what Jesus said is everything in the Bible points to me. The law and the prophets and the Psalms, they all point to Jesus. They're all a measuring stick in how we get to know who Jesus is. So that's question number 2 in the Catechism, how we know we can enjoy and glorify God.